Welcome, KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show. Now, some of you have never listened to the Ask Brien radio show, and I guess you're going to learn something today. Why? The goal of every Ask Brien radio show is to teach a business lesson. You can learn from tips from our guests. We have a great guest today, and you can typically learn from our co-hosts. Although today we are going to be going solo, because why? Our guest hosts are unavailable. All right. So Ask Brien, and it's spelled. How do you spell Brien, engineer?
So it goes as follows: Brien.
But it's AskBrien. And what does the E stand for?
Excellence, empathy, engineer, because you need me. Effort.
Did you mention experts?
Experts as well.
And why do we have experts?
We need experts on this show because you need about a good 10,000 hours to be considered an expert and qualified to appear on this show.
Well, that's what an expert is.
Yes.
That doesn't necessarily state why we need experts. But I will be going over that now. Ding.
Got me.
Well, actually, there's a show many, many blue moons ago, before you were born, called The Gong Show. And if I had a gong right here, I'd be going, kaboom. Gong. Okay. So, Ask Brien, AskBrien, because that's the only way to spell Brien. Everyone asks me, why do you spell it with an E? Well, yes, the engineer has already described it. E is a great letter, and E stands for the empathy, the excellence, the experts. And that's really what it stands for, and that's why we use the Brien term as opposed to A-N or Y-A-N. Brien, B-R-I-E-N. Now, on the Ask Brien website, we are a community that allows business owners to ask other business owners questions if they're in the same industry. So the typical example we say is the plumber in Michigan and the plumber in Wyoming may have to deal with the same issues. It's not only just about plumbing, but it may be, hey, listen, I went to a client's house and I left my toolbox there and they won't give it back. Has any other plumber dealt with that issue? And then some guy from Wyoming says, you know what? I had this issue, and this is how I resolve it. So other business owners in the same industry can help solve business problems for others. But then we have the big E that stands for experts. And on experts, we have a qualification. So as the engineer has decided, we have qualifications. And those qualifications are, if you have a minimum of 10,000 hours, okay, which is pretty much 5 years experience in the same field, you probably would qualify as an expert, but there's no guarantee. Not everyone with 10,000 hours is going to qualify. Depends on what they're doing, what they've done. Then we have other people that may qualify that you can have less than 10,000 hours. You may only have 1,000 hours, but guess what? It was in a very, very unusual field, or the field that you're recognized by your peers, so there are other ways to become an expert. If you are qualify as an expert, you then can have the Ask Brien Expert Badge on your website that links back and will identify you as an expert. And also, each expert can have their own profile where they can put ebooks, videos, webinars, and any webinar will go on our big nationwide scheduled webinar calendar where anybody can look up and come to the site and say, you know what, I need to get a webinar on Facebook ads. And you look on our webinar schedule, you find it, you put it on your Google Calendar, and right away you have it. And that's all for Ask Brien website. Now, we have our guest. Her name is Viviana Escobar. Did I wake you up?
Hi, guys.
I had to wake you up because I figured, with all me talking, you didn't know anything. So I think I woke her up. I wake up because I have a cup of Java coffee. So, very glad to have you on our show. Typically, we do have a co-host, but our co-host is unavailable, as I described. So, first of all, is it okay for me to call you by your first name, Vivian, or
Of course, and thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be talking to you guys. And yes, please call me Viviana.
okay? So, Viviana, my first question is, what is your background? Not, so for instance, what was your first business endeavor?
Okay, so first of all, I'm Colombian, and I've been in the United States since 2001. So my first company was actually in 1999. I had a casting agency. It was the first company that I had in Colombia. Then I moved here.
Well, slow down. So, you had what kind of a business?
I had a casting agency. That was the first one.
And so, what did you do there?
In the first company, we used to do casting and then choose the talent for TV and for commercials and for ads and so on and so forth.
That's a pretty big thing to have as your first company. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, hey, I started my first company was Apple. Nothing, some little small thing. Okay, no, to be able to deal with TV and talent and all that at as your first company, that was. You must have had a background though to get into that business, no?
Yes, I went to film school, so I was very familiar with the industry. I started working in the industry when I was really young, maybe 17 or 18. And so by the time I opened my company, I had a very good knowledge of, and I was able to navigate the industry really well. I had that company, then I closed that company, and I moved to the United States. And in the beginning here, I worked in the film industry, and then I had a devastating accident. So I was in a very, very bad shape for a couple of years. I was in a wheelchair, I couldn't move. It was really hard for me. So while I was going through this, I started noticing what was missing, right? Everything that I was happening in the healthcare industry and the things that I was facing. And so that started giving me ideas of how to create solutions for all these problems. So as soon as I started recovering and starting getting a little bit better, I talked to a friend and I started building a company for him. So the first company was an interpreting agency, and we did a very good work. And after helping him for a while in the company, it grew, it was established, and then the challenge was over for me because it was already completed. So I went deep into business development, and I started helping medical practices to improve their services. And that took me to open my second company, which was a medical coordination, a wellness advisory, and concierge service.
So hold on. So how did you go? Because that's a jump from films to medical, right? That's a big
Yes,
difference.
I always say I have two lives. I was a person before the accident and a person after the accident.
Well, actually, I thought you have 9 wives, but is that just for cats? Or
So I still have seven more to go. That's
yeah.
really good.
Well, maybe number 5 is going to be the best. Maybe number 2, which you're at right now. But
I think I'm right now on the third one. I would say I'm in the third time I'm reinventing myself. So I think I'm in the third. So I still have 6 to go. That's good. I
well,
like I like your theory.
let's take a pause right now. I want to continue to go over this stuff, but that is I think it's a very big thing that I was completely unaware of, and I would like to take a little bit of that.
Okay.
To start over, okay, and I don't want to put you back in that time frame, but to start over, okay, in and you're at that time you were young, because you're young now, so you're young, even younger back then, and you had one business and you're just in America for a short period of time, and you've got to start over. That is a tremendous accomplishment. First of all, for one, you're in a different country that you haven't. You didn't grow up in America. You grew up in a different country. You've only been here a short while, and then you have to restart. So there's a lot of questions that I would have. And so my first question is, how do you overcome a tremendous situation like that and go into business? I mean, first of all, I would think I would probably get a job and not start a new business if I'm overcoming something. So did you start working for someone first?
Yes. So the first one, um, when I started noticing, like I was telling you, for example, in the healthcare industry, back then the interpreters were just bilingual people. They were not qualified or certified interpreters. Even though we had very good schools for medical interpreters, they were not being enforced in the medical offices. So, like you said, I was new in here. My English is my second language. It was not perfect. And when you have to communicate with someone and they're explaining something that you have to make decisions that is going to change your life forever, you want a good interpreter in the room. So that was my first thing. And so back then, because of my situation, I was not ready to open my own company. So I approached someone who already was starting a company, and I told him, I said, let me do your business development. Let me build this for you. I know how to build this. I know what people need. So that's where we started. And then soon after, I think I was with him maybe 1 year and a half or two. And then again, because that one was already working and it was already established, I wanted to keep going and I wanted to create more impact. So I started going directly into medical practices and doing the same. And then soon after, I opened my company. So there was a time between the accident and my first company. There was a time of research and experience and healing also, of course, because at the same time, I was healing my body.
So a lot of people have these. So there are a lot of people that are working for people, right? They have a job. They're doing something.
Mm-hmm.
The engineer works for KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM, right? And he works here, right? And so there's a certain mentality of certain people, and they go ahead and they work for people because they get a paycheck guaranteed. They don't have to worry about, oh, at the end of the month, did I have enough income to meet my expenses, whatever, for the business, okay? And they have what I call a lower risk factor, okay? And then there are other people that they just jump in, yourself and myself included, and we just go out there and we just get into business right away as quickly as we can. Mainly, I think, for freedom and mainly for potentially more income, but mostly from my aspect, it was for freedom. So my question to you is, what made you decide, and what makes you tick and say, you know what, I need to have a business as opposed to working for a company inside the company? What's the reason you do that?
Well, there is two parts of that. One is, for example, when I'm consulting new business owners, I always tell them, what is your situation? If you are under tremendous financial stress, it's going to be really hard for you to start your own company, right? And so if you can keep your job or a half-time job or have a side business or anything that it can help you while you build yours, you're gonna be more calm, right? More relaxed, and more clear in your mind. You're gonna reduce the stress. But so it always depends on the personality. If you can handle, like you said, if you can handle stress and if you can, and you're a risk taker, then go completely into your new business. But for a lot of people, what it works best is to have also another income. What I did in the beginning is I used other person's money to build my company and see. And so I was getting paid what I was building and I was learning. So I always think that even if we're taking the risk, it's good to have a backup plan. It's always good to have an exit plan. It's always good to have some other sources because nobody can be completely clear and creative when they're under too much stress. So first you reduce your stress. You're responsible. A lot of people, when you're starting their own business, they have families, so you cannot afford to not take care of your family. So keep your job or your half a part-time job or anything that is helping you financially, but don't give up your dreams. That's what I always say to everybody. Don't give up your dreams. Keep working on your dreams. Some people, it will take in 1 month. Some people, it will take in 1 year or 10 years. But it's not about perfection. It's about progress, correct? So as long as you stay committed to your dream, and that's the important thing, to not lose track and stay in your 8 to 5 job.
Well, but isn't there something to be said if you're working on a part-time job or if you're working full-time for a company and then you're trying to start your business at the same time? there's only so many hours in a day. Time is still 24 hours, unless I'm aware of something like the Matrix or something else where they've expanded the 24-hour day. There's only so many hours in a day, and you have to sleep. Okay, and I don't know what the standard is. I've heard anywhere from 6.5 or 7 to 8.5, but somewhere in that range. So I would say 1/3 of your day you're sleeping. Okay, you got to eat. That's what 2.5 hours a day. Okay, and you got 500 other things to do. You're working a job full time, and then you want to start something, whatever, and you still have a family or a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. There just aren't enough hours in the day. So how do you deal with that on a time management perspective?
Well, first of all, you have to be very passionate about what you want to start because it's going to take dedication and you're going to have to sacrifice some entertainment or social time. There is no, like you said, there is no other way to do it. There is just a certain amount of hours in the day. So what I always tell people is choose your priorities. What is important for you? If you're very passionate about your business, so then we're talking about time management. Be very disciplined because if you have very little time, you cannot sacrifice your health, you cannot sacrifice your family because that's your priority and your health is your priority as well. So start from health, family, and then have a very, very, very disciplined schedule and try to stay with it. Like I'm saying, some people will build a company in one day, some people will take 10 years, but as long as you're moving towards that goal and you're dedicating at least 1 hour a day. For example, I'll give you an example. How long does a usual human takes in social media throughout the day? Maybe you can not use that time on social media, or maybe that time of drinks with friends, or maybe if you're going to the gym 1 hour, maybe you can go 45 minutes. If you're spending in your lunch 1 hour, maybe you're spending 45 minutes. And then you start squeezing in the time that you need to build your company. And you start little by little. If you have a full-time job, well, it's going to take you a little bit longer, but it's completely, completely possible. The most important thing is to have the passion and the will to do it. If you really want to do it, then you will find the time. I promise you will find the time.
Well, that's what I always tell people is that people are never busy. They can always accommodate and change things around if they want something, and I do say that to people. Try not to say it to family members because that's probably a bad idea. But reality-wise, if people want to do something, they can do it. It just takes a little bit of focus and whatever. So the next question is, you're working full time, okay? You got your bills to pay, whatever. When do you decide, okay, my business is now starting, I really need to put more time into it and I want to actually go for it and make it work. I mean, you may not be at break even yet. When's a good determination of when you want to go ahead full time into your new endeavor?
For me, it was a little bit easier because, like we were saying, it depends on your personality. I'm a risk taker, and I'm very passionate about my ideas and what I want to do. So there was a moment that I noticed that nobody was doing and creating the solutions that we have access to create. So for me, it was not a question. I needed to provide those solutions to everybody around me. So I took the risk, but I took the risk knowing in my heart that what I was doing, it was going to help everybody around me. So it requires a little bit of faith in you, a little bit of faith in what you're creating, and we'll come back to the same, and will. So for me, I jumped right away, like as soon as I knew that it was the moment that it was needed, that it was asked for, because that's what we create business for, correct? We create business to solve problems, to provide a service or a product that it helps someone else. So I went right on it. And of course, in any business, in the beginning, there is a little bit of a stress and there is a little bit of challenges, or a lot of challenges, many, many challenges. But we take one at a time, right? And again, if you're committed to what you're doing, then the challenges doesn't feel like it's something that is going to stop you from getting to your dream.
How long did it take you from the time you started this most recent business, the medical company, before you were, I don't want to use the word successful because that's a bad word, but that you were, you know, you were able to pay, you know, you were able to necessarily break even and pay your personal expenses. Was that right away on day one? Did that take a couple years?
No, for us, I was already planning it. Before I even started the company, I was already aligning the things for it. So I was already working towards what I needed to have. So by the time I open it, I will say the first 3 months are the hardest because you have to, those 3 months definitely you will spend a lot more time and you will have to sleep less and you will lose some friends. They will not like you because they invite you to their birthdays and their weddings, and you miss a lot of important time on your friends. But in my case, I have a son, so if I have to choose between my son time and my friend's time, well, my son comes first, so I choose the time with my son. And whatever left, I will put it towards the company. So I will say maybe 3 months. 3 months are very stressful, and then we were lucky because, like I'm saying, I was already thinking about it. So we were lucky, and around the third month, we started to break even.
Well, we're going to be right back. We're talking to Viviana Escobar. We'll be right back. 1220 and 98.1 FM.
Do you ever listen, but you're not really paying attention? Sort of like what you're doing to me right now. This is Alex Urbina, your advanced life coach specialist. One of the most frequent questions I hear is, what is a life coach? Well, tune in every Friday at noon to learn the value of having a coach and listen to a live coaching session on the radio. Right here on your hometown station, KHTS.
Facey knows life gets busy. Let us go to work for you in the Santa Clarita Valley. We have 34 primary care physicians and 55 specialty doctors in 4 offices. And Facey has easy 24/7 online appointment scheduling for PCPs and PEDS with some extended hour appointments available. We are Facey Medical Group. Let us go to work for you today. For more information or to make an appointment, visit facey.com. That's FACEY.com.
Save water and save money. SCV Water wants to help you find your fit and take advantage of conservation rebate programs that will help you save. Water your landscape more efficiently. Replace your lawn with water-wise plants. Conduct free in-home water surveys. Cover your swimming pool and more. Find the programs that fit your needs and start saving today. Visit conserve.yourscvwater.com to learn more.
That's conserve.yourscvwater.com.
If you have a business problem, if someone doesn't honor their agreement and you need an aggressive attorney with over 27 years experience, the Law Office of Peter Bronstein has helped partners resolve disputes, franchisees resolve disputes, and other business owners who have a challenge. Let the Law Office of Peter Bronstein take your stress away. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. Don't wait too long and lose your rights. Solve your business challenge problem today. Visit lacorporateattorney.com.
Hometown, your hometown station.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. I don't know why. For some reason, my engineer kind of changes the voice and he goes, in 98.1 FM. I don't know where he got that, but he does that on a little engineering thing tool here he's got. I don't know why he's doing it, but he does that. So every once in a while, you hear me say 1220 AM and 98.1 FM. Because I'm in New York, I think maybe he's just coming after me because I'm a New Yorker. But anyway,
Not at all.
That's what it is. And we have our great guest, Viviana Escobar. Come on down. The Price is Right. Oh, wrong show. Sorry, I thought it was Bob.
I mean, I got the reference. That was good.
Is this The Price is Right? No.
No, I don't think so.
Well, actually, AskBrien is a higher rated show anyway. Obviously,
Ooh.
on KHTS 1220.
I feel it.
Who else is not going to listen to AskBrien? AskBrien. All right, so we're coming right back, and we're here live. And Viviana, we had a question. We wanted to understand something. we are right now. You have a new business, and actually, I think it could be good for reducing stress, if from what I understand. And that business has something to do with an unusual technique in the medical field. So, can you go over what that is?
Yes, yes, and I'm glad that you asked because we were talking about stress management, correct, and how to heal your body. So, through the time that I was building these companies, of course, I was exposed to stress, and at the same time, I was trying to heal
And
my body.
by the way, I didn't mean to interrupt, but my engineer is constantly under stress because every time I scream or do something like that, management comes over and tries to say, "Hey, slow it down." Like that. This isn't the Howard Stern show, and so therefore he's there. So he's on a lot of stress too. But here we are. Sorry to interrupt. Let's go back.
I'm good. I'm chilling.
I don't need a co-host. Go ahead.
Oh, I have to send you some videos so you can watch and under that stress. Because again, so what I was when I started going into the healthcare industry, I started noticing the most of the sources of the medical conditions and everything that we're seeing right now in our society, it comes from stress, anxiety, and depression. Most of the conditions, like from diabetes to cancer, they're related to stress. And so in my journey, in my healing journey, I became a good student. And I traveled and I studied with some of the fathers of breath work and big masters that teach breath work. And I became, I fell in love completely with it. I became so passionate because I started seeing change in my body. I started healing faster. I was able to handle more. I was a happier person. So I started noticing all these shifts and all these changes, and I was like, what is this? This is phenomenal. So I became a really good student, and I studied for 4 or 5 years breath work, and then I got to the point that I became a master trainer in breath work, and my husband and I, we created a breath work method. So the name of the method is Mana Breath Work. And we opened a new company for Mana Breathwork, and now we're sharing this information and spreading the word about healing techniques, and breathwork being one of the main ones and one of the most effective that I have ever seen. So I thought it was important for my clients. So my current clients within the medical coordination service, they have access directly to all of our team in the breathwork company.
So, and can you spell that technique?
Yeah, absolutely. The first name is Mana, and it's MANA, and Breathwork, and the website is manabreathwork.com.
Okay, and then, and when did you start that business?
We started that business this year. I'm sorry, in 2019. I forget that we're in 2020 right now. We started in January 2019.
I just started writing 2020 on my checks. It always takes me a few weeks to figure that out.
Yes.
And by the way, this is a great year. Why? With 2020, we have excellent vision.
Oh, come on. That was an easy one. Come on.
You need a vision to create a plan.
Hindsight is 2020.
Well, I guess. It's going a little bit backwards here. So, did you start this business yourself?
This one, the breathwork company, I started it with my husband, which I met him through breathwork too, 5 years ago. So we've been married for 4, and we started the company last year in January.
And has it reduced your stress?
Which one, my husband or the breathwork? Both, yes.
You know, you could be my co-host with that kind of humor. That's the kind of humor I use on my engineer.
It's very true. He does do that to me.
And he's very stressed out every time I come in here. He goes, you know, everyone else fine. I just sit here and, you know, I'm watching my Facebook, and then all of a sudden Peter comes in here like, I got to watch this. I got to have the volume control. I got to do all these other things. It's very stressful. But I tell him that I keep him alive.
He does keep me alive. That is very true.
The hour goes fast. Because he never knows when I'm going to tell him 12:20, and then he's going to put on his little beeper, turn the beeper, and thank you for turning the beep on
Right.
98.1 FM. I really appreciate that. So does all the people here at KHTS. In fact, they're going to be running down our door any second for the and part. They love the New Yorker in me. So it has got to be very stressful to start this company, but getting beyond that and not trying to put any more puns here. So you've been doing it now for a year? Because you said
This
2009.
one we've been for a year, correct.
And how are you getting clients?
And that's very interesting because everything that we did with the first two companies, it was a completely different situation, different audience, different public, different clientele, different services. When we went into breath work, we had to do research from the beginning. We have to really, really learn who was our audience and start building from zero to be able to communicate with them. So it's been beautiful because I got so much insight of humans and what humans really need. And based on that, we've been able to create information that is relevant to them, correct? So yeah, this has been new for us. We love it. I'm more in love now than ever with breathwork. I think it is phenomenal. I think it's where everything is going. I think as long as we're breathing fine, we're living to the maximum. And if you notice, for example, even in a business meeting, and I tell you this because this is important for anybody who is in business and who is in marketing. As soon as you walk into a meeting, look around. Look how everybody's breathing. I promise you, if you are regulating your breath and enjoying your breath, you're going to have a better conversation and your mind is going to be more clear. But observe everybody around you. Most likely they're not breathing or they're breathing very shallow. So for business, for life, I'm sorry, go ahead.
How do you regulate breath? I mean, that's a human auto system that, you're a baby, you're breathing, and you're just going on. So give us 3 things that somebody can do, because the engineer has been saying, I need this, I need this, I need this. And he's like raising his hand and jumping up and down like a school kid. So what can he do to regulate his breath, and what does that mean?
Well, first, observe the way that you're breathing. Observe right now how you're breathing. We come to the world with an open mechanism to breathe. And then every time we have an emotion or we have a trauma, we create and we change the patterns and the way that we breathe. So we create all these blockages on our system. So the first step is observe. Look at the way that you're breathing. Second one, it is take a deep breath. Try to breathe, exaggerate the way that you're breathing right now.
Can I go yet? I'm going to turn blue. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Second one, the third one is try to keep a connected flow. Don't make pauses. Keep breathing deeply. Enjoy the way that you're breathing. Be very conscious about expanding your chest and your belly at the same time. So
my belly is always expanding, but that's because I eat a lot of food. Go ahead.
I always say it's a practice of observation. So the first thing is to start observing how are we breathing, because the breath doesn't lie. So the way that you're breathing is the way that you're living.
But don't you think when you breathe, okay, so for instance, like as we're talking about breathing right now I'm focused on it, right? But in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the automatic system is going to come back in. And so how do you control your breath and focus on that and then still do everything else? Because to me, unless you're focused on it, nothing's going to happen.
Well, precisely, the first thing that you do is drop the control. So you're not even trying to control your breath. You just let it flow. You just let it be normal. And because what we're doing is we're restraining it. So if you try to control it, most likely you're going to restrain and create different kind of blockages. So it is more about surrendering, relaxing, and allowing your body to do the perfect breath that is used to doing. If you look at a baby, we don't teach babies how to breathe. Babies know how to breathe. We're super worried about the way that we eat, our diet, our exercise, and at the same time, we're not even breathing. So if we take it from the basics and we really, really go back to our breath, It's going to give us a roadmap of what our body needs. So it helps us to connect with ourselves. It helps us to be more present. The more present that you are, the better decisions that you take. And if you're a business owner, you want to make good decisions for your life and for your business. So if you are thinking ahead in the future or in the past, or if you are completely in a stress mode, most likely the decisions that you're going to make are based on that, and they're not going to be the best for you. So when you give those moments of relaxation to your body, ideas and are going to flow easier, and you're going to be able to detect what thoughts are coming to your mind and what is really your mind, your analytical mind going overdrive, or what is your true self. So it is a beautiful, beautiful thing and a beautiful practice. That's why we became so into it.
So,
we got so into it.
And you start, when in 2019 did you start this?
We started the company in 2019, but I started breathing 5 years ago. I started studying breathwork 5 years ago.
And
I've been breathing since I was a baby.
Actually, I've been breathing my whole life. Since the time I came out of the
my
womb.
whole life.
Since I got out of the womb, I've been breathing. But okay, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm an unusual person. Anyway, the engineer is like, "Oh no, 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 no," and there he goes, 1220 and 98.1 FM. He keeps on doing that. I don't know why. But we're right back here. So, how many clients do you currently have, if you can tell us?
Well, because of the kind of clients that we work with, I don't talk too much about my clients or the amount or who they are.
No. I'm asking for the number of clients, because you started this.
For which one?
Well,
because sometimes
you started the breathing business,
yes.
Within the last year, okay? And I'm just trying to figure out, are you starting to build up some momentum? Are you starting to get some clients, or is it still like in the real early stages?
No, you know what? It's been organic, and it's been growing fast. Some of the group sessions that we do, they go up to 50 people, but technically we can do a talk for 1,000 or 2,000 people. So right now, the maximum that we have for a group session is approximately 50 people. But hopefully we get to do stadiums, right? Why not?
Now, is this live in person or over the internet?
It can be. We do all of them. We do private sessions in Beverly Hills. We do group sessions in different venues and workshops, and we also do master classes online.
And I don't want to go too intricacy. So, how did you say organically? Was that using social media? How did you get these people to start coming to your site, or however you got your clients?
Yeah, well, because of my knowledge on marketing, I believe in everything, in digital marketing, in direct marketing, in public relations. I believe in everything. But most of my companies have been built in word of mouth. Most of my company we've been very focused in providing quality of service, and we've been really lucky that our clients keep sending and referring their friends and family. So I always say this to any business owners: focus on your service and product. Focus, make it perfect, and also allocate budget for your marketing. Don't ever think that a company will grow without marketing, but at the same time, don't ever think the marketing is everything. So focus on your quality, focus on solving problems, because if you solve a problem for your client is going to come back, and it's going to come back with their family and friends. So do that, and invest in your branding, invest in your budget, because it's the way, it's the image that you're portraying, it's what you're telling the world that you are. So definitely invest in your websites, in your social media, in everything. Nowadays, everything is important. We're in the times of data mining and inbound marketing, so if you're if your company's product or service, always keep in mind digital marketing as a number one.
So, what percentage of my entire budget should be for marketing? 10%, 20%, 30%? And does it change if I'm a startup like yourself and you're just starting out, or I've been around for 10 years?
Every company is very different, depends on their expenses and what they can do. But I will say be generous with your marketing. Always be generous. Don't think. And this is the thing. Don't be thinking just in the conversion. Just think of branding, what you're creating. So in the beginning, invest on that. Invest in creating the image that you would like your company to portray. And then the more budget that you have, the better. Right now, with everything that you can do in digital marketing, if you have good budget, you can do wonders. So be generous with your marketing. If you can, do it. If you have just a little bit, then just do a little bit, but be smart about the way that you spend too.
So if
Know your audience. Know your audience, number one. Know who is looking at you.
So if I want to start a business and my goal is by year 2 or 3 to have $1 million in revenue, okay, and so I'm trying to plan it out for those 3 years, and I'm an internet business online, okay, how much do you think of my, how much money do you think I need to put in year 1, 2, and 3 to be able to achieve that type of goal? If you have a product that's selling about $200 a pop.
Your overall budget is $1 million?
No. I want to have $1 million in revenue in year 3. But I'm starting out my business. I'm trying to do a business plan, and I'm trying to figure out how much money I'm going to need. The product is $200 profit per item. That's the profit, and so that would be That'd be what 5,000 sales I would need of the product. So to get there, first of all, I would think that I don't know. Somebody once told me you try to double, right? So if you want $1 million in year 1, 500,000, then 250 to get to 250, and nobody knows your brand name or who you are, you got to put out a lot to get there. So, what do you think you would?
Yeah, there is a lot of formulas, and when you work with digital marketing, you definitely allocate depending on what every client represents to you. But I always said it's so different for company to company. The first thing is you really need to know your audience and where they're shopping and what they're shopping for, and then you can decide. There is many formulas, so you have to do a good marketing research specifically for what you're selling to be able to give you a good number. I will not be throwing numbers for everybody because it's like telling everybody the same diet will work for them.
All right, we only have about 30 seconds left. What is your website for people to contact you?
People can find me at vivianaescobar.com or manabreathwork.com. That's MANA breathwork.com. My Instagram is VIV Escobar, and my Facebook is Viviana Escobar. And YouTube is manabreathwork.com.
And I think we're running out of time. Is that correct? The engineer's giving me this weird looks, and he's going, Ian 98.1 FM. I see that right there. So, anyway.
Thank you for having me.
You've been a great guest. She has to leave a little early. She's got so much stuff to do. Probably another breathing exercise. Thank you very much, Viviana Escobar.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me, and I'll see you very soon.
Thank you very much, and we'll be taking a commercial break. We'll be back with questions from the audience.
The city of Santa Clarita has so much going on this year. Be on the lookout for amazing events happening throughout the year, including the Cowboy Festival, concerts in the park, Thursdays at New Hall, and the Santa Clarita Marathon. There are also a number of fun activities and things to do year-round, including outdoor recreation, hiking and bike trails, adult classes, art exhibits, youth sports programs, and more. You can even sign up to be a volunteer. Learn more at santa-clarita.com.
If you have a business problem, if someone doesn't honor their agreement and you need an aggressive attorney with over 27 years experience, the law office of Peter Bronstein has helped partners resolve disputes, franchisees resolve disputes, and other business owners who have a challenge. Let the law office of Peter Bronstein take your stress away. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. Don't wait too long and lose your rights. Solve your business challenge problem today. Visit lacorporateattorney.com.
It's like no other station I've ever listened to. It's great.
Your hometown station.
Welcome back to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Our guest has left the building, but we have a new special segment that we started this week. It's called Audience Ask Your Business Legal Questions. And what is the first question, Mr. Engineer, that somebody has come in and the name is Anonymous, wants to know the answer?
So Anonymous wants to know, can I collect attorney fees if I sue a business?
Well, you stumped me, so I'm done. No.
Who got him?
All right, so that's a very interesting question. So this is a completely legal question, not even a business question, but business owners do have this. Many, many times business owners sue or they want to sue in a lawsuit, and they think, well, I'm going to get my attorney fees, right? Well, that's actually the English law. So in England, it's a guarantee that if you file a lawsuit in England, not a guarantee, nothing's guaranteed, that you can collect attorney fees. In America, and specifically in the state of California where I am licensed, the law says this. If there is a statute, that means if there's a law that says you're entitled to attorney fees, then if you prevail in a lawsuit, you can get attorney fees. But if there isn't a statute, then you pretty much, there are a few ways to do it, but the main way to do it is in a typical contract. So if you had a contract with somebody and there's a clause there and it says attorney fees, the prevailing party shall collect the reasonable attorney fees. Under that theory, you can then collect attorney fees if you prevail. But there's a couple of quirks here. So for one thing, that would be in a breach of contract case where somebody has that. So first, they would need to have that clause in the contract. Both parties agree. That's why you're allowed to collect attorney fees. But the only time that really works is you have to go through a full-blown trial, because only if you go through a trial can you really collect the attorney fees. Otherwise, if you settle a case, it's basically impossible, not totally, but it's pretty much impossible to add on attorney fees to something. So you're not going to be able to collect attorney fees unless you actually go through a trial. So when you go to that law office and you say, hey, I'm suing this guy and the contract does not have attorney fees and there's no statute out there, and you think that you're going to collect, or B, it is in the contract, you go, hey, the attorney says, hey, give me my $50,000 retainer because you're going to collect the attorney fees, and so what's the big deal? And you go, wow, that's great. Well, 97 to 98% of all cases settle before trial, so the odds that you're going to be able to collect those attorney fees are doubtful. Then, if you get to the situation where you can collect attorney fees and you are going through that part of the process, a judge will determine whether or not those attorney fees are reasonable, and they have a couple of different methods, the Lodar method, et cetera, where you will actually, the judge will look at what's going on, standard rates, standard hours, and determine whether or not the fee is reasonable or not. There are other times when you can get attorney fees, but I know that there's a couple more questions, and we're trying to help out the other people here. So, what was the next question, Mr. Engineer?
So, Brian, our next question was from another anonymous guy asking for.
Anonymous has been asking a lot of questions. I want to have somebody besides Anonymous ask a question. So let's see if we can find someone.
You know what? Hold on. Actually, I just got.
Hold on. Didn't Brien Johnson ask a question?
Brien Johnson? Oh, you know what? Brien Johnson did ask a question. He sent me to ask you, what's a trademark, Peter? Or Brian?
I'm stumped again.
Yes, stumped every time.
Anyway, so first of all, the first concept, and we don't have a lot of time. A trademark is an item, okay, used to identify a good. It is not an item or to identify a service. So the difference between service mark and trademark is some symbol or something will identify the trademark. So if you look at, for instance, I'm looking right now at Clorox. And if you look at the Clorox disinfectant, and here it is, I'm doing my advertisement. Excuse me, Mr. Engineer. And you see this Clorox. You see this little logo here. That is a trademark. It's used to identify a good.
Right.
If you wanted to identify legal services, like that guy in law office of Peter Bronson that's always advertising on this thing, that's a service mark because it's advertising a service. So a trademark is something used to identify a good, and this Clorox, the entire part would be considered the trademark, although you could identify and you could trademark just the Clorox. And by the way, you see that R with a circle?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Can we zoom in?
Actually, I could just put this on the camera.
Okay. I don't see anything. I just see me, but okay. We're just seeing me, but that's okay. Anyway, the R with the circle means that the mark has been registered by the USPTO, United States Patent and Trademark Office.
Interesting.
And if it has a TM, that means it has not been registered. But we're not. There's so many questions going on trademark, and I know you had another question. This was from David Smith.
David Smith did ask a question. He says, "Do you need a trademark to brand your business?"
I don't know. Again, I'm stumped.
They're just dishing you with haymakers right now, aren't they?
Anyway, so branding is kind of like a marketing tool. So basically, you're trying to consistently identify the same concept, the same mark, the same things, and you're trying to identify your product and branding it. Branding it is basically telling people, hey, this is my product. And trademark is actually part of that concept, right? Because, for instance, on the Clorox disinfecting wipes, which are going through the roof probably in sales because of that virus, all right? The reality is, to brand your name, to brand your product, you want to have a mark that will identify the mark throughout the world, and everything you do, you want to put your mark on it. That's part of the branding process, but it's not the only part of branding. Marketing experts can tell you many, many questions and answer lots of things for you, but basically branding a concept is applying the same or similar concepts throughout your entire marketing budget so that people know, for instance, just do it. It's a Nike slogan.
That is Nike.
And why do we know that?
It's
every commercial, every ad, every time they are anywhere, they are using just do it. And in about 8 seconds, we're going to be off the air, and we're just going to do it. 12:20 a.m. And you turn it on too loud. 98.1 FM. Stop that. Ask Brien Radio Show. Back next week.